Hey guys, this is Chris. In this video, I'm going to go over the how to wire up the overdrive in an M46 transmission. It's an electronic overdrive. In the late model M46, it has a relay actuated overdrive unit, and it's several wires that kind of go in and out of the relay. It can get a little complicated, but I'll just go over I'll just go over the wiring process here. So on my 85 245, it was a originally AW70 automatic transmission. The transmission blew, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years ago. It'd been slipping for a while ever since then. Long story short, I put in a spare transmission that was worse, and then for a third swap, I decided to go into do the M46 swap. If you're not familiar, the M46 is it's a Volvo transmission. It was used from, I would say probably 81 or 82 until 87, I would guess. 86, let's say 86. Anyways, it's a 4-speed plus an electronic overdrive. Reverse, first, second, third, and fourth all function with the shift lever, and then for the overdrive, it's going to be an electronically activated solenoid that gives you a fifth gear for the transmission. It sits in the back of the transmission, but it's button operated essentially. For that to work, you're going to need to run some wires. There are a lot of reasons why you may not have the right harness for it, which is this. If you're like me, you're an idiot, you pulled the transmission from a scrapyard, you're in a hurry, you forgot to pull the relay and harness. It could be that your wiring harness to the transmission has rotted away. There's a lot of different reasons why you would have to rewire your overdrive relay. It is, I think, very important to have the relay. Just helps separate the voltage. You can isolate which gear the overdrive can activate in. Essentially, I'll go into what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to get the fifth gear back in my wagon so I can take it on the freeways and have the RPMs not running so high. But yeah, I'll run through the what I've been wiring up so far. Sorry for the mess in here, but you'll see here, I've got the shifter and shifter assembly. Underneath the boot should be some insulation foam that all comes stock. If your 240 is missing it, then it fell off. But aside from that, there should be 4 wires that come out from the transmission assembly. If you wired it correctly, I'm not sure what the stock colors are. I can look that up later, but if you wired it correctly, there should be 4 wires. So one of these, and I've got this as the longest one right now, that goes to the M46 overdrive solenoid. When 12 volts are applied to the solenoid, it shifts the transmission. It gives an extra 5th gear to the transmission. I think, let's see. Right, so this white one I have here, this is going to be your 4th gear, your 4th gear activation switch. When hooked up to the relay, overdrive will only activate when the transmission is in 4th gear. That makes it so you cannot accidentally put it into overdrive when you're in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, and especially not in reverse. If you put the car into reverse on an M46 and accidentally activate the overdrive unit, it'll fry the transmission. The other 2 are gonna, it goes to the 2-prong sensor, which is the reverse switch sensor. These will hook up into the reverse light and complete the circuit whenever it's in reverse, so you have lights in the back. So it should be 4 wires coming out of your M46, and they all, I guess aside from the reverse switch, the other 2 are going to go to the relay, and I'll go over how that's hooked up as well. So here's what the stock overdrive relay looks like. It should be a blue unit found in the passenger floorboard, kind of behind the center aisle kick panel. Let's see, it's a 5-prong unit, and you'll see if you don't have access to the connector is great because all the wires have connectors on the other end that attach to the other side of the transmission, and you just have to splice in a couple of wires. But if you don't have access to it, you can look in the back, and it kind of shows you exactly, it tells you where everything should go. So just starting at the top, number 15 should go to the overdrive button, plus a fused 12-volt source, preferably on the fuse block. I'll get to that. They're back. 86 goes to the other side of the overdrive button, and then you have 85 over here, and that should go to the switch on the transmission, which is the 4th gear switch that lets the relay know that 4th gear has been engaged and it's safe to go into overdrive. And then 87 should be the power source for the solenoid, and it should also splice off and light up a dash light that tells you that overdrive has been engaged. And last, 31 is just a ground. And this should be the stock Hella unit, and I have a replacement or aftermarket unit from KAE. I think I got it from IPD. It's a little different. Instead of the 5, there's going to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 connectors on there. The readout is pretty much the same. You'll see that since 87 is supposed to branch off and not only go to the solenoid but also to the dash light, there's just multiple 87s on there. So normally your M46 shift knobs are going to be plastic with a push button on it or with a flip switch. But my transmission didn't come with that shift knob, so I'm using an M45 shift knob. It does grip the shaft a little, the shaft a little bit better, but it doesn't have the button. So I've relocated the button to the dash. This is a piece that I got off of the old AW70 shifter. It's intermittent switch, and it'll be what I'm going to use to activate the overdrive unit. So for the relay, number 15, it's supposed to fork off. You have one side that's going to the switch and the other side that's coming from the fuse block, but there's only one connector there. What I'm using is I think they're called a double male to female adapter, and it's basically a female spade connector with 2 males that pop out, so you can have 2 connections going to the same spade site. I have the same thing on the fuse side, which I'll follow. I'll show over there. And this is the blue primary wire is going to be my 12-volt source. I've got it routed all the way through here. It's going behind the dash wires all the way to the fuse block over there, and it goes under the dash mat thingy, back behind the center kick panel over here. And I chose right here, I chose fuse 11. That's the stock location for M46 overdrive relay. I again had to use one of those double male to female adapters. I chose fuse 11 just because of the stock location, also because it's a 16 amp fuse. I'm not sure if that's what they need, but that's how it was factory, so I'm just going to follow that. For the lead to the overdrive solenoid, you'll have to take the wire and run it under the carpet. And it should pop out right here, and then from there I can run a spade connector and hook it up to the relay. So for slot 31, which is the ground, I used a black primary wire and a ring connector, and I'm going to use this stock ground location for a bunch of the switches and interior stuff, and it's right behind the center console, which I've kind of moved apart there. I've taken the bolt apart, and I'm just gonna stick it back in, and here it is all tightened up. If you don't want to disconnect all these switches to pull the center console out, I've got this little hooked Phillips, and it's been pretty helpful getting in these tight spots if you want to just kind of make a quick job out of it. I've routed the ground wire along with all the other wires behind the center support. This is kind of how it is stock, and it's going to all come and loop up to the relay here, which is going to get tucked in down there. Lastly is 85 on the relay. That goes to the fourth gear contact switch on the transmission itself, and same with the other wires that come into the cabin from the transmission. I have it coming out of the relay, back through, and then under the carpet into the transmission tunnel, and then where it connects to the transmission. So for the M46 shift light, so what happens is whenever you activate the overdrive, say I push the button and activate it, it's supposed to give a 12 volt output that not only does it go to the overdrive solenoid and engages the fifth gear, but it should also provide voltage all the way through and into the shift light. So this should be the shift light on your dash. It's not really necessary. I like to have it on. It's just kind of like an OEM feature that I like to try to replicate. And as far as I can tell, that light goes to number 4 on the back circular connector with the half moon key that's on the back of the cluster, and the number 4 wire should correspond with orange. If it's this year is an 85, the chassis is an 85, so it should be an orange wire. I think 84 and older would be a yellow wire. Either way, if you're doing this, you want to trace it. So anyways, the orange wire comes out of the circle connector that's in the back of the cluster, and it looks like it dead ends. So the orange wire dead ends on a 4-prong connector right behind the dash. So this is a 4-prong connector. I've disconnected it. This is you can see the orange wire there, and this is the male side of that connector, and it doesn't have anything going to it. So it doesn't look like there's any sort of input into the dash for that shift light to light up. What we're going to do is I want to maintain this OEM connector, and I'm going to put one of those stock bullet connectors into that. You can kind of see that there's these little wings that you can, when they're in that plastic holder, you push them down and you can pull them out from the back. Then you just pry them back up, and I'm just going to insert it from the back into the plastic holder here, and then connect the other end and run the wire all the way back to the overdrive relay. And hopefully that's what's gonna hopefully I don't fry my cluster. I haven't done this before on this car. So I've got the wire here, ears are out. Just gonna poke it through here. All right, there we go. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. All right. So I've got running through an OE connector, and that wire goes all the way to the relay, and all I have to do is plug this connector back into this connector, double check that I put it in the right spot. Yeah, everything's good. All right. Shit, I should have ran this from, yeah, that'll be fine. Key in, so everything, relay should have voltage. It's in 4th gear, And I'm going to activate the shift light, or the overdrive, and that should illuminate the shift light on the dash. And there it is. All right, so the test drive went well. Everything works as it should. You know, no weird noises. Overdrive stayed connected the whole time. You know, there was no break in any sort of circuitry or anything like that. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that everything is good. I'll probably start driving the car more on the norm. Make sure I update my other projects, but, you know, just is something that I've been putting off on this car for a while. And it does make highway driving a lot easier. And yeah. If you like the video, you know, just please like and subscribe, and you know, I'll be sure to churn out some new stuff in the future. Thanks for watching.